Hi, I'm Cranky Crumpet and I'm here with Ecutioner today. So she's come over just to show me how to do some basic skate maintenance because I have no idea what I'm doing and I need to get my skate ready for the derby season. So we're just going to start with checking over our skate. We're going to look at some wheels, how to clean your bearings, how to pull your skate apart and change some things. Alright, so what are we doing today?
Well, I was thinking about some of the new skaters that we had come into our league recently who complained that they couldn't turn. When we had a look at their skates, we realised that because they were brand new skates and they came direct from the manufacturer, they were still done up really, really tight. So underneath your skate you have this bolt here called kingpin.
Yep.
And there is a nut around it, and if that's done up really, really tight, what that does is it stops movement of this section here called the pivot. So right now I can't move that at all. So if I was wearing these skates and I lean to the left or the right, my skate would still want to move straight forward.
Yeah, it'd fight against you.
Yeah. So something that's really useful, especially when you're first starting out skating, is to loosen this up a little bit. You don't want to loosen it too much to start off with because you might find yourself just falling over. So you loosen it a little bit, see how you feel. If it's still hard to turn, then you can loosen up a little bit more. But I've got a really handy dandy tool right here. Find the one that fits and just loosen it. Oh yeah, that is tight. Turn it to the left.
And so most skates come with this kind of skating tool, which they have the different parts, you find a bit that fits, and it's just like using a normal tool in everyday life.
Yeah, I have one of these tools in my bag. It's got the skinnier one here, which is used to take the bolts out from the wheels, and then the wider one here is used for the kingpin, which can be loosened. So just, yeah, that's so tight. So we're going to turn that to the left. There's one at the back as well. And give it a bit of a twist to the left. And then we have to do a bit of trial and error. So if you'll notice now that it's a bit looser, when I turn this section here, there's movement on the pivot inside the pivot cup, whereas before there was no movement.
So it's not one size fits all, is it? Everyone likes a little bit more movement, some people like it a bit tighter.
Yeah, so mine are really loose. If I lean just the slightest, my skate will do an almost complete turn, but when you're starting out you don't want that, you'll end up falling over.
Yeah, you want a bit more controlled.
Yeah. So as you get more experienced you can loosen them or tighten them however you wish.
Yep. So this is a beginner skate, so most of them come like that, but then this is an antique on an Arias plate. So the Arias plate, you don't do that, you don't loosen the nut, you have butterfly cushions, and so you just change them and that will change how much give these have. So if you have a plate like that, don't go looking for the nut. It's
Oh, that's true.
likely you have to completely take it all out with your Allen key, which comes with it, and then change the cushion that's in there. Yeah, so that's a different kind of skate.
So what if I want to change my wheels and clean them?
Just start off just using our tools and unscrewing our caps. Mine are orange and bought for me from a friend who knows that my favourite colour is orange. But when you unscrew these, the wheel just comes out pretty easily. When I take my wheels off my skates, I always try and remember which side they were on. So when I put them down, I've got to try and remember where they were on the skate and keep everything together so we can rotate the wheels later on. Outside surface can be cleaned with like dishwashing detergent or any kind of like soap. But if you're going to be cleaning your wheels, don't leave the bearings inside if you're doing that. You have to separate everything, otherwise you're going to end up with rusty wheels. So I've got my handy dandy bearing pull right here, and press the button, stick it in. You can kind of shimmy your bearings out.
Sometimes they're a bit difficult, aren't they?
They can be. Sometimes they'll pop out quite easily and sometimes they need a bit of elbow grease, but once you pull it out, they just slip off when you push the button.
So we've checked our trucks, we've done our wheels and our bearings, but how do I stop?
So there's lots of ways to stop. but you might be thinking of this doobie whacker right here called a toe stop.
Awesome.
I want to talk about toe stops real quick. For one reason, mine is getting really low. It's been used quite a bit, so I'm going to switch it over for a brand new one, which you can see has a lot more rubber in it than this one. It's been worn down for lots of use. To switch them over, we have to unscrew them, grease it up, and then stick it back in. So these two pairs of skates have different kinds of toe stop, different ways of securing the toe stop. This one has a nut, and this one is done up with
an Allen key.
Yeah, a screw with an Allen key in it, so a little bit different.
But most of the beginner skates will come with something that looks like this on a beginner derby skate anyway.
Not all toe stops are adjustable either.
No.
So that's something you have to keep in mind. If you have an adjustable toe stop with the Allen key, just use your Allen key, loosen it up here. Might take a bit of force to start off with, but once it's a bit loose, you can then take it out like that. Now you don't have to take it all the way out. You can just unscrew it so it's loose enough to turn this bit. I've got long stem toe stops in mine. For roller derby, I prefer to have a long stem toe stop. This one's a short stem, so you can see there's a significant difference in the length of the bolt here. So that's a short stem, that's a long stem.
That's all preference in the end too, isn't it?
It is preference in the end. Many roller derby players will prefer to have a long stem because you have more stability when you're standing. So I'm going to grease up my toe stop. Let's put a couple of drops of this. And then it's pretty clean mine, but if it's a bit dirty you might want to give it a bit of a wipe out before you do this, but mine's pretty clean. I'm using gumballs. My gumballs actually tell me which side is the front and which side is the back, so that's pretty handy. And I just screw it back in like this. I like to make sure it's at a comfortable height for me to stand on. So what I do to get my perfect height is I put my skate down flat and then I bring my skate up onto the toe stop like this. And if I can fit 3 fingers underneath, then that's a good height. So this is still too low for me. So I'm going to screw that in a little bit more. Just test that I can get my fingers underneath a little bit more. And for me that's good. Some people like it a little bit higher, some people like it a little bit lower. At the end of the day, it's personal preference.
That's just the rule of thumb, isn't it? The 3 fingers. Yep.
Yeah, so I like 2, some people like 3. I like it really, really low. And then as time goes by, I just unscrew it a little bit more to keep it lower. Make sure it's nice and tight.
So it's always important if you've been skating for a little while to make sure your toe stop is still tight, even if you aren't changing it. Especially with these ones, the nuts often, and then we have a rogue toe stop flying across the floor.
You should make it a habit to check your toe stops often. Just give it a little bit of a jiggle, and if it turns, tighten it up.
So with this one, it's a bit different. You get your trusty tool, whatever kind of tool you're using. So these ones are similar to Ebony's ones that she showed, except it's just not an Allen key. So you have your washer, your bolt, and your hole. So why we've got this off, a good tip is, so a lot of people use toe guards to protect your leather. This is an example of one, example of another one, and then an example of another one.
Mine come right up the shoelaces.
Protects even more, which is great. And then what we've currently got on this boot is just some hockey tape. So hockey tape's great, protects your scuffs if you just need something cheap and you don't want to put something on there. But a couple of newbies we've seen, they put it between the nut and the shoe.
And it gets damaged.
It gets damaged and also loosens the nut up, and then the nut flies off in the middle of practice. So the best option is to put it underneath the nut if you're going to put it on. Makes it a bit more harder to do up, and it might not hold firm onto the boot because it'll be a bit more loose, but it's not going to make your toe stop come flying off. and then screw it back in, and then similar as we did before, you just screw it in until you get to the height that you want, and then tighten it back up. So thanks Ebs for coming along today and showing me all these really cool stuff on how to fix my skates and get ready for the new derby season.
That's cool, it's been fun. Maintenance is super important, so if you do these little things now, your skates will last much longer and you'll have more enjoyment for a longer time.
It's great. And if there's anything you guys want to know for future videos, just leave us a comment, inboxes. If you'd like to join Wollongong Illawarra Roller Derby, we train Tuesdays and Fridays on court 3 at the UAW Sports Hub. And everyone is welcome. As long as you're 7 years and older, you can come down and have some fun with us. Awesome.